It's true. There's more shenanigans happening with Dragon Age of Elgard. Now, there's a lot of reasons as to why this game didn't do very well.
Oh, right. Yeah. Bruised toe.
Ah.
It's fine. How did you even notice? What? Were you looking at my legs?
To the art style, the poor quality of dialogue, and just the general wokeness that people are a little bit sick of that was involved in the game. Dragon Age fans just didn't really feel like it was a good Dragon Age game. But recently, the publisher of Dragon Age, EA, has come out and said that the most recent entry would have sold better if it was a live service game. Yes, you heard me right, a live service game. And I think most people can agree that the problem with Dragon Age of Elgard was not the fact that it wasn't a live service game. Like, that's not it at all. Now, this is interesting because EA had actually previously pivoted to being a live service game midway through its development, which they then reverted after seeing BioWare's actual live service attempt at Anthem didn't do very well. Now, these comments are pretty interesting to me because what they really show is that EA is just trying to find any excuse other than the fact that the game just wasn't very good as to why the game didn't do well. Now, I am no game dev by any means, but I don't think the downfall of Dragon Age of Elgard, which was already a successful single-player IP, is to make it a multiplayer game all of a sudden. That just doesn't make sense. Now, EA's boss, I guess you could call him, Andrew Wilson, is the one who kind of spoke out about Dragon Age of Elgard being a multiplayer game, but you know, I don't think he knows much about video games, and I think from a CEO perspective, he's thinking, oh, live games do big numbers and action games are hot, but that's not what the fans or community wanted. Now it's rubbing the fans the wrong way because they're trying to make up excuses as to why that they think that the developers didn't do well. I think the real reason why this game has not performed at all is that the writing is just shit. Like, the NPCs treat you like you're a toddler, like you're a 7-year-old child, and it just doesn't feel like engaging. But no, let's just overlook all the success the previous Dragon Age games have had. It has to be because of the multiplayer not being in the game. That's the only reason why the game did bad. And I think the most frustrating thing for fans is there's a good chance a lot of the flaws that were in Veilguard are directly because of the push for the live service bullshit that they got rid of halfway through development. Like, that's going to be hard for any studio when you're trying to build a game around a live service theme and then all of a sudden, hold on, no, it's going to be single player now. It is hard. Because having a switch from multiplayer to single player almost affects every aspect of the game, from the world to the dialogue, like basically everything. Now, I saw a YouTube comment by Akamu Slayer here, which pretty sums it up quite well. He says that your mistake is assuming that people like Andrew Wilson are setting out to make an accurate assessment or to become an understanding in the first place. Essentially, he goes on to talk about how they are just trying to find the way to make the most money. They have titles like EAFC that just print the money with essentially gambling through FIFA points and opening packs and stuff like that. And while this is true, big CEOs like Andrew Wilson do not give a shit about whether the game is good as long as it's making money. Eventually, I think this will catch up on them. You know, people will start to vote with their wallets, and if they start releasing more Dragon Age games or other titles that are very obviously just cash grabs and they just want your money, I do think eventually people are going to get very, very sick and tired of this and will stop buying the game if it genuinely just sucks. And you know, I always come back to this company, Ubisoft, but they are the best example. People will stop buying their games. I mean, you look at them right now, they are not selling nowhere near as good, but they've got microtransactions in all their single player games, and it seems like they're focusing more on that side of the game than the actual gameplay itself, because in theory, it makes them more money and less resources to create said microtransactions. But it does rub the players the wrong way, and now people aren't buying their games. Now, the thing that's going to be interesting to see is, will EA allow BioWare and other developers they work with to continue making these single-player games without any live service integration? Because they're going to use Dragon Age of Elgard as a quote-unquote example of why live service is better and how this game would have done so much better if there was live service in the game. When in reality, the problem with the game had nothing to do with whether or not it was a live service game or not. The game just simply was not good enough. EA has already been for a while a very uninspiring and boring company to deal with, but I think the thing is, they think that these live service games will keep on selling and keep on selling, and to an extent they will, but if the gameplay just continues to be this bad, people will continue to stop paying and stop buying the games if there is nothing worth selling. Now, IGN recently interviewed Andrew Wilson, and it really goes to show just how out of touch with reality he is in the gaming industry, as he goes to say, and I quote, "In order to break out beyond the core audience, games need to directly connect to the evolving demands of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category." So essentially, they're just going right back to just talking about how they think that single players are just dying and they're not worthy anymore. But I mean, there's so many examples of the opposite happening. All you have to do is take a look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That is like the perfect example of what happens when you really put effort into gameplay, dialogue, and the world setting. That's a single player game, no multiplayer elements, and it's crushing sales right now and everyone's enjoying it. And he goes to say about how gamers want more live service titles and they don't want single player experiences. Right. Just like how gamers wanted Multiverses, Concord, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Marvel's Avengers, X-Defiant, Skull and Bones. Yeah, but all these live service games we all really wanted, they're all doing super well, aren't they? No, they're doing terrible. So this is not a matter of what gamers want. It's a matter of what EA wants to make the most money, and they don't give a shit about their consumers at all on a personal level. Now, this is no surprise. They are trying to min-max their sales, but it does damage their reputation as a publisher, and that's not going to help them in the long run. But yeah, this is pretty much just a rant about how out of touch the higher-ups at EA are in this industry, and the future for BioWare is unfortunately looking not great, as layoffs have obviously begun following Dragon Age Veilguard, so who knows what the future holds. But yeah, thank you for watching.